सीखने में या कुछ किसी से मांगने में आई एम वेरी बेशरम। चाहे मेरी किसी से 2-2 साल बात नहीं हुई होगी, बट आई विल स्टिल नॉट हेजिटेट टू कॉल समवन टू से सीक एडवाइस कि even though we've not talked, I just need help from you, can you help me out? And people are, and believe me, people are always willing to help. Fortunately, Hitesh is super, क्या कहते हैं, pragmatic. तो इस बार एंट्री ये थी कि भाई हम स्टार्टअप तब शुरू करेंगे जब हम सीड फंड उठा चुके होंगे, क्योंकि हमें सैलरीज चाहिए. इफ़ यू एक्चुअली वांट टू ट्राई समथिंग, डोंट वरी, burn the bridges and do it full time. I'm not a proponent of someone who
moonlighting.
हाँ, कि मैं ये जॉब भी करूँगा और इवनिंग्स में स्टार्टअप करता रहूँगा. That's something that I feel is not giving justice to both these organizations. In these consulting firms, the one up that I had always was कि ये तो research background वाला आदमी है, इसको पता होगा research biotech में होता कैसे है. I had a friend who was running a startup, kind of a startup in social sector in Bihar. So I quit Deloitte and went to Bihar and joined that friend. और मैं पेड़ लगा रहा था गांव वालों के साथ मिलके, मुखिया and BDOs and all of those लोगों के साथ.
सही है, मतलब so you already had 2 startups experience by 2000. When did you leave Salad Days?
2014. Yeah.
So by 2014, मतलब तब तक तो मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री भी नहीं बने थे. तब तक you already had finished 2 startup experiences.
Correct.
That's quite impressive. I don't think a lot of people have that trajectory. And so after that, did you join a corporate back or?
Yeah. So that's when I thought that let's come back to corporate. But again, my target industry has always been healthcare life sciences. So joined GE Healthcare. Excel वाले लोग HR में हर जगह रहते हैं. My friend was a HR in the life sciences team at GE. My friend's friend, but he was HR at life sciences and he was an Exceller. So in a way credibility थी मेरी. So he got me in GE and we started some amazing things within GE. So within GE I moved from life sciences to healthcare as well. Primarily because of my startup experience, it was more of an entrepreneurial role. So pharma or medical devices companies, they run these training for doctors, right, as marketing. But we realized that there is a lot of value that unique trainings can give to a lot of healthcare professionals, but the value needs to be commercialized. So we started a commercial training wing within GE. In a way, there was a social angle to it as well. So there I started the first center in the North India, where we were taking in 12th pass students and training them to become X-ray technicians, which has been a major gap. GE needs to sell X-rays, but there are no right technicians to run X-rays. There have been examples where one of the premier, if I say, around premier hospitals in North India, Delhi, there are smaller X-ray centers that have been opened. जहाँ पे I've heard stories from very close people that किसी का अगर fracture हो गया in that area, there was an auto guy who took that person to X-ray करा देते हैं, X-ray in a very small shop, and and behind the screen someone says कि अभी सीधे रहिए, सांस रोक के रखिए, and all of that when X-ray का button press होगा. So when that guy heard the sound, he actually post X-ray checked that the same auto guy was pressing the button for X-ray. So no one knew actually X-ray कितनी distance से लेना चाहिए, कितना ज़्यादा expose करना चाहिए and things like that. So we realized there is a major gap and there is a major need to train the right kind of people. And that was again an amazing kind of an entrepreneurial experience where I in fact went to different banks, tried to understand कि ये Prime Minister skilling yojana and things like that had started. उसके अंदर इन students बेचारों को loan कैसे दिला सकते हैं. I actually sat in bank with bank managers, looked at their old historical circulars and found one जिनके अंदर उनको collateral free loan मिल जाएगा. And that's when the first center started with 12 people and some of them now are in even Canada. that was amazing कि एक X-ray technician बन के कोई Canada चले गया है, कोई कहीं major Max hospital में लगा हुआ है and things like that.
So you also became an education entrepreneur
in a way. Yeah, in a way, educational social entrepreneur, but
an intrapreneur.
Intrapreneur, but हाँ, intrapreneur because I was being paid by GE, तो tension नहीं थी पैसा कहाँ से आ रहा है. Yeah, so that's something that we started. Then we started creating trainings in universities and colleges for biotech grads, and because GE had a life sciences division and all of that.
So how many people do you think have now gone through training that you had kind of initiated, started?
So we had initiated, in fact, the first year itself, Tata Trust tied up with us in GE. And from that time, every year there are thousands of people who are getting trained as X-ray technicians and other places. And there are some leadership trainings also which GE does, which we had initiated, but those are not at scale, like the large difference that GE is making in, on the ground. And I loved the experience there as well.
So one question, we have a platform, Altuni, and it's like an alternative digital university. And it just struck me when you spoke about, building these trainings. Clearly, universities could have, should have done it. They never did it, and which is why a private company had to come and, do it. So X-ray technicians is one thing. Now, similarly, even you need to upskill yourself and be relevant. So what did you do during those years to ensure that you are relevant for G, for anything that you do? Of course, the startup experiences would have been a massive boost. Yeah. But have you ever done any courses, or did you ever study after that?
Studies in terms of lesser formal kind of studies, but I have taken a lot of mentorship from a lot of people.
Right.
So my first boss from G, he is now again at a very big position in one of the in bio-incubators. I still sometimes call him and just discuss my some of the people who I'd met at CTS, Cognizant, who was my manager at my internship time. I used to sometimes call him. He's running a nursing startup in Hyderabad. So we've been discussing, and I've been getting a lot of mentorship from all the people I've worked with in some way or the other. And I don't, one thing that I can probably say is that मैं सीखने में या कुछ किसी से मांगने में I am very बेशरम. चाहे मेरी किसी से 2 साल बात नहीं हुई होगी, but I'll still not hesitate to call someone to say, seek advice. Okay, even though we've not talked, I just need help from you. Can you help me out? And people are, and believe me, people are always willing to help. I don't know how they help me and why they help me, but they always are willing to help. ये 2 साल भी बात कर रहा है, probably that's why.
For people who are not like KDR, who feel a little shy, we've created Club Altuni, where we actually manufacture this experience for you, where you can actually get mentorships and access to people in the industry whom you can get mentored by. So KDR, coming back to, so how long did you spend in GE now?
So GE was almost 5 years. Just before I was able to say qualify for gratuity, 4baseCare idea came, and we just thought ke chalo 4baseCare.
So who are these we?
And me and my co-founder. So I had a very close friend from my Piramal days, and his name is Hitesh Goswami. He had come to Bangalore. He was running his genomic startup. When I was moving to GE, I said कि मुझे घर ढूंढना है. He found the house in the same society that he used to stay. And fortunately, the office was also in the same society. So I actually used to come home to have lunch during my GE days. बिल्कुल सरकारी job. But that's when we used to always think कि करना क्या है. We need to do something together. And GE gave me a very strong exposure in the healthcare ecosystem in India. One major stakeholder group where radiology is used, radiology is GE forte, is oncology. Because cancer doctors, oncologists, they need to understand through imaging कि cancer कैसे बढ़ रहा है, कितना बढ़ा है, and also we started creating trainings for oncologists, and that gave me a very strong exposure to oncology. But when I and Hitesh used to exchange notes, we used to see that oncology mein there is a lot that is happening, but all is happening in the West. There is a lot that genomics is doing in the West. All the patients, and that time, most of our celebrities used to go outside India to get their treatments done if they had cancer, and some of them go now as well. There is no reason for them not to go, because oncology has evolved much better in West and not as much in our regions. And there are, and it's all by evolution. There is no one to blame there. But the thing is, we realize that all the research, all the work that has been done based on the data which is generated in genomics on Caucasians. अगर हम शक्लों से इतने different हैं, तो हमारे tumors definitely different होंगे. That's something that we realized. So that's the thought that we had before starting 4baseCare. Can we create unique solutions which are based on Indian populations? So solutions मतलब हम DNA test ही करते हैं, but हम और again biotechnology and bioinformatics is essentially data analytics. It's not anything else. So it's all about DNA, which is ATGC का sequence and data. So the whole idea was we needed to understand, can we generate Indian population's data and have deep analysis on that and give recommendations to doctors based on our analysis that these drugs might work better on X patients versus Y patients, provided that that patient gives his or her tumor sample to us, and we do a test, which is a paid test, but we do at an affordable cost compared to what the world is charging.
So again, before I come to the 4baseCare business model, this is like what, the third startup that you are now a part of?
Yeah.
So इस बार जब entry मारी तब, what was the mindset?
So इस बार entry was, fortunately Hitesh is super क्या कहते हैं, pragmatic. तो इस बार entry ये थी कि भाई हम startup तब शुरू करेंगे जब हम seed fund उठा चुके होंगे, क्योंकि हमें salaries चाहिए. We will act as an employees for 4baseCare rather we running 4baseCare, and we still do. I mean, fortunately I have a couple of my colleagues here, and we are working as employees as if someone else. So, and one of them is testimonial to this, that there are times when he asks us कि ये करवाना ही है तुमको और ये तुम्हें करना पड़ेगा, and we have to do it, and we do it for him. So abhi we run it as a employee for 4baseCare, but the objective is to figure out how can we grow by being an employee. पहले महीने से salary आनी चाहिए, थोड़ा सा cut हो compared to what we could have gotten, that's okay, but बहुत major cut भी नहीं लेंगे. And we'll need to figure out कि वो salary maintain करने के लिए हम पैसा कहाँ से लाएंगे.
तो अभी कितने साल से कर रहे हो ये?
अब almost 3 साल हो चुके हैं.
मतलब पूरा pandemic although pandemic would have only helped you further.
Correct. In a way, but there were less OPDs, तो थोड़ा लगी.
तो अभी आपका business model क्या है? How do you make money?
So we sell our tests, we sell our genetic tests to patients. The whole objective is now how can we sell in volumes rather than high value. So there are companies who do very deep, very less number of genes ka testing and all at probably 4 times the cost that we do it. We are trying to figure out how to reduce cost further, and we actually want to figure out how can this genetic testing be a standard of care. Can we bring down the cost of genetic testing for cancer patients to a PET CT or MRI जो हर patient करा सकता है. So that's the reason that's something that we are working on, and hopefully by couple of months we will have that solution as well. And the whole idea is we will sell tests, we will gain volumes, but while doing this we also learn from each patient. We have created not just our genetic test wing, we have also realized that the patients need larger supports in cancer, not just testing or एक drug बता दिया उसके बाद छोड़ दो. But cancer in a way is a very isolating experience. उस family के लिए, उस individual के लिए for sure, but family के लिए it's a very isolating thing. Can we build communities? Something what you're doing for students. We are trying to figure out if we can create cancer communities, people learning from each other, people learning from experts. Not necessarily a mentorship, but asking questions online. Can we increase efficiencies in patient-doctor discussions? There are 15 lakh cancer diagnoses that happen every year, and probably 4,000 to 5,000 oncologists treating those 15 lakh patients. Per oncologist कितने patient हो गए, right? Many patients don't even get to see an oncologist. Can we increase efficiencies के अगर हम हर डॉक्टर को 3 patients extra दिन में देखने allow कर दें, can we figure out ways to increase those efficiencies so that the impact is there in the market, the impact is there on the lives, while making money through our tests. So those are the kind of things that.
So like, what is the biggest difference that you will make to a patient's life or to the problem of cancer in India?
It will be survival. We have seen that. In fact, there was a patient from Bangladesh, 80-year-old man having parotid cancer, cancer of the salivary gland. He was put on a standard treatment. Head and neck cancer है तो XYZ drug देंगे. If he responds, it's fine. If he doesn't respond, we'll need to figure out क्या करना है. The doctor put him on XYZ. He was not responding to the drug. The cancer actually from this big had reached probably around this big. It has reached the head region as well, and it had grown majorly. And we did, and that's when the doctor and probably our team and my colleagues' team actually reached out to the doctor, and the doctor used our test to identify what is the molecular challenge in the patient, and we gave a couple of recommendations of drugs. And within 2 months, the cancer had almost gone, and the patient was on a road to recovery. So it's not just that particular cancer reduction, it's support to the larger family. Can we increase that particular patient's life so that he can stay with his family for even if it's not 3 years, 10 years, 30 years, but even if it is for 3 months, we still feel that we've done a change, we brought a change in someone's life. So that's the thing that is driving us at 4baseCare. And these are the feedbacks that we get every few days, and it actually gives me goosebumps till now. So we have an amazing team which is driving it. I'm not the tech person, I'm not the biotech brains also, because bioinformatics मुझे इतनी नहीं आती है. But the idea is healthcare हमें अब समझ आ गया, so we are trying to do our bit.
I mean, now that you have like 3 startups का experience, अभी आपने पैसे भी raise किए, you've raised $2 million.
Correct.
So based on all these experiences, what would you tell someone who wants to start afresh? Doesn't matter what the age is, whether it's 20,
Correct,
25, 35, whatever, right?
Always people will say कि अपने दिल की सुनो and all. I'll not go to that side, but I'll try and be very candid by my experiences. First is, before you start up, one is identify the right co-founder. So you have to have the right kind of a person who's with you and who's having complementing not necessarily skills but attitude as well. So for example, he's a visionary. वो बहुत आगे की सोचता है, and I am a very tactical person. I think of execution today. For today, how do I change things today? So co-founder is super critical. Second thing again is very candid, paperwork. From day zero, सब कुछ paper पे करके रखो. And again, Hitesh being a Gujju, he's been very strong in that. कि जो भी paper पे we have agreed, we will do that. And paperwork has helped us also to say manage our differences very well. So that's something that I again appreciate, that paperwork is the thing. And third is, if you actually want to try something, don't worry, burn the bridges and do it full time. I'm not a proponent of someone who
Moonlighting.
हाँ, कि मैं ये job भी करूँगा और evenings में startup करता रहूँगा. That's something that I feel is not giving justice to both these organizations, yourself or your startup, and consider your startup also as your employer. You're not giving justice to both your employers, your employer who's giving you salary and employer who's giving you a rasa in your brain or things like that. And fourth and last is believe in God. I am very strong believer in God, and things will happen, whatever has to happen. Just like Bhagavad Gita, कर्म करते रहो and फल की चिंता मत करो, जो होना है अपने आप ही होगा, टेंशन मत लो. That's the whole idea.
Awesome. One other question I had was around what is your vision going forward? You said that you are not a visionary, your co-founder is, but I mean, you said, like, you know, hopefully this is the last startup that you do.
Yeah.
But what keeps you going, and what makes you feel like, okay, I want to just keep doing this for 20 years now, 25 years now?
So that's the learning I'd had from Deloitte, right? I need to see impact of whatever I'm doing. And that's something that keeps me going, specifically in 4baseCare, because here impact is visible in few months' time. I mean, if there are recommendations, if patients are able to stay alive, and there are not just say case studies that we are seeing, we are actually seeing blessings coming to us. So there are some of the unexpected things happening in our life, because there is somewhere we are changing people's lives. So if you are able to see the impact of whatever you are doing, that's something that drives me. And fortunately, startups allow, not that probably some of the jobs might also allow anyone to do, but startup allows me to actually try newer things and see impact in a different way in different things. So for example, the digital thing that we are trying to do now, which is the community and all of those things, was not earlier that we had started. There was some other things that we will plan and work to do and create impacts and outcomes. So the whole idea is try, I love from Piramal days experimenting and seeing outcomes immediately, and that's something that is happening at 4baseCare and driving me.
What do you think of the health ID initiative that the government has now? And what would you say to people who are worried about all of this? You know, कि यार अगर पूरे population का DNA sequencing हो जाएगा अगर, then the truth may be too uncomfortable for us to handle. What if we start discriminating based on people's DNAs? So I'm sure at some point of time you've thought about these things. What do you think about it?
So health ID, I know it's अभी तो बहुत दूर है DNA और health ID का एक ही साथ आना and sequencing and health ID meeting. So health ID initiative is very novel and very good. The whole idea what we started with, right? Can we identify unique insights on our population to support our population? And for that we need data. The only thing that that we need to ensure is how to ethically use those data points, and never to look at a personalization of say recommendation based on his historical data, which is done by a third party. अगर वो एक doctor personalized decision ले रहा है, that is correct. But a third party using data in a personalized way is wrong. If the data is used in cohorts or larger ways to figure out what are the population level challenges or population level problems that we can solve based on the data that we have, I still believe the health ID will help. The thing is, I clearly realize and we see that there is a long way to go. It's just a start. It will take a very long time for it to be implemented, because ground में there are a lot of challenges to do it. And
but वो तो मतलब आधार के टाइम पे भी एक बार ऐसा ही लग रहा था कि कैसे होगा.
But आधार के टाइम पे the target say organizations were banks and places where still data is
the use of Aadhaar,
right.
But the whole population had to first create an ID, right?
Correct. So use of health ID में to figure out hospital से data कैसे आएगा, that is impossible. Current systems in hospitals are not having data.
But you're saying banks were probably better with tech at that time.
Correct. But as and when these systems improve, the world is moving towards health interoperability in data and all of that. As and when that happens, that's when health ID का actual impact दिखेगा. अभी तो it's a long way to go, but if it can be implemented even in smaller groups of populations and the data ethically used for creating insights, then it will be amazing thing.
But abhi, like with DNA sequencing, I know there's a movie in the early 2000s, I forgot the name, where essentially, you know, as soon as you are born, you know, there is some kind of a blood test that is done or a DNA test that is done, and your occupation is decided based on that.
Correct.
Right now, I mean, that's obviously a dark Black Mirror kind of a episode I'm talking about. When you say ethical use of data, I mean, who decides what are the ethics? Who is the regulator? And does it even scare you? This DNA, I mean, as there's more and more data available about everything, right? I can predict कि इसको कौन सी एज पे हार्ट अटैक आएगा. I can predict कि इसको कैंसर 80% चांस है या 20% चांस है. And there are like, I'm sure more and more variables will be available to track. And with Apple Health ID and Android mapping how much you are walking, how you are walking, what time you are sleeping. Obviously, already a lot of that data is available for these large tech companies.
Correct.
So ये ethical use of data कैसे होगा?
There are times when we also feel कि भाई अगर गड़बड़ हो सकती है. There are many different types of organizations that can leverage and bias against or towards you based on your genetics. So there are ways and means in which that can happen very easily. The whole idea is that people like us who are generating this need to figure out how to give this power just to the patient, and he's the owner of his data, to figure out what he needs to do. So in the US, for example, there are genetic tests that are done. Even though a test is done, so for example, to identify if a patient is predisposed to cancer, the same test can also reveal if there are neurological challenges, predominance or predisposition towards neurological challenge. वो सब है. But the doctors there and the people there are very cognizant of the fact that मैं इस बंदे को permanently डरा नहीं सकता. इसने कैंसर का टेस्ट दिया है, तो अगर if he allows me to tell about the other diseases, only then I'll tell about other diseases. So it's the people handling the data who have all the power on the data as of now. There are challenges. The whole thing is, India में तो to be honest, अभी इतनी regulations भी नहीं है. The data regulations have just started. Fortunately, we are following the right models which have been implemented, but till the time the power is in the hands of the patient, and we figure out how to decentralize and utilize that power there itself, it is a tricky thing currently, and it is not in the hands of the patient currently everywhere, to be very honest. Yeah.
So I'm going to open up the floor for questions now. Yeah, so we have a question here.
Now I see startups just raising the rounds after every 6 months. So like, are you facing any issue in scalability or what? Like,
नहीं, so fortunately between 2018-2019 जब हमने seed round लिया था and 2021, we got selected by Illumina. So Illumina is the world's largest genetic sequencing technology provider, and they run this accelerator. So 2019 itself we got selected there, and in a way they invested in us in kind in huge amounts of money, because we did all our research at the accelerator. And genomics is a research-based institution, right, or technology. तो हमें हमारे products research के basis पे ही बनाने हैं. So we got a major in-kind investment by Illumina before we were able to get a in-cash investment by our investors. But Illumina helped us in creating a product जिसको अब हमारे investors ने पैसा दिया. And we are scaling very fast. So from the 2 million, till the time we were raising 2 million, हमारा objective was not growth, but to create the right product for Indian populations. So at Illumina, we created our first ever world's first population-specific genetic testing panel, which is the Indian population testing panel, which is called Target Indigene. And उसके बाद we've grown almost in a year 10 plus times. So we are happy with our scale, and the next milestone is also 10x growth. We want to achieve that in next 18 months. Let's see.
still what problem we face in while doing a health tech startup?
पैसा.
नहीं, that you have now.
No, अब और चाहिए. So अभी और 10x चाहिए, तो I need more to raise more funds. The challenge is India investors are still very comfortable in fast scaling businesses which are say fintech, edtech में थोड़े time पहले हुआ था, अब इतना नहीं हो रहा. And e-commerce again it has little slowed down from what it was, but the thing is health tech में there are some unique kind of investors who have more patience than others.
Like,
so we have to find those kind of people, and fortunately Illumina helped us in getting that network as well. But challenge and risk is always, will we be able to raise the next amount of money at the time when we need it, so that we don't stop our momentum. That's always been a challenge that is currently also there. We are currently also in our fundraise, and I think for next 3 to 4 years we'll always be raising funds.
okay.
Hi, I'm Sagar. I'm in my final year of BCom and pursuing CFA. My question is, in healthcare, trust is the biggest
Correct.
valued upon factor, right? So how do you work upon that? Because you're relatively younger startup, like
Correct.
from 3 years. So how do you work upon that? How do you get people to trust you? Is it just the expertise, or is it much beyond that?
It's a combination of multiple things, but हमारे लिए what has worked is probably my experience in say salad days, if I say, where we ensured that हर cube of a vegetable that going in someone's mouth is perfect. So we are trying to ensure that the analysis or the reports that we give to a patients and doctors are say validated multiple times and checked and all, to ensure quality. If you will ensure quality internally, external validations and outputs अपने आप आने शुरू हो जाएंगे. So this case that I talked in Bangladesh was not that we say sponsored or reached out to. It was actually a feedback coming from the patient and the doctor, which helped me understand that these are the changes or these are the lives that we are saving. And एक दो बार ऐसा कोई भी किसी डॉक्टर के साथ हो जाए, I don't think they will move away from your recommendations. So we are slowly growing, but we are surely growing fast. The other things are having the right kind of partnerships at the right stages, where Illumina kind of gave us a very strong credibility, working with the right research people in Tata. So we are working with some of the best hospitals, some of the best oncologists in India, as well as having some of the best advisors from the world. Don't worry about say तुम्हारा IP और तुम्हारे idea लोग चुरा लेंगे. Just go and throw out your ideas and figure out who all can work with you, because in the end it all boils down to execution. Many people will have the same idea. The people who can execute it well will actually go again.
From your story, I could understand that you have had quite a diverse experience, and thanks to your fresh mindset when you joined MBA, you were open to taking those chances. So if given a chance now, would you want to go back with a rigid mindset, I want to get in this industry, this role, or would you be open to being the same? And do you think it'll work for everyone?
To be very honest, I've been on the fly, but it was not my naivety, but the support that I had from my ecosystem. My family was supportive. My now wife, that time girlfriend, was not worried as much. If I had these many responsibilities now, I will probably try and say focus to smaller things and probably not leave Deloitte and things like that. But if I'm not having those responsibilities, or if I'm having comfort that those people will also support me, which they currently are doing, because 4baseCare start karna bhi was not very easy if I did not have support from people, then I will still try new things. I mean, that's something that I think I'll do.
Sir, I'm Kshitij and I'm a BCom graduate. So it's very evident from your conversation that there's like the entrepreneurship spirit and that fire in you. So you also, like, from your conversation, it's very evident you have a like a sibling who has done well as well. So my question is, like, since I'm a fresher and I intend to go to a B school and intend to have a startup in the future, so what should be the mindset that I approach? Because my family is also inclined towards the set jobs, and I also do have a high achieving sibling of my own.
What does a sibling do?
Yeah.
My brother is a chartered accountant, cleared everything in his first attempt. He has his own firm. He's doing amazingly well, and he works pretty well. So, yeah. So compared, I'm still
No, so
very,
first
very
thing that
junior,
I'll say is that even though I have a high achieving sibling, but there has never been a competition in our mind, so that we don't need to be worried. And because you have a high achieving sibling, तब तो तुम्हारी टेंशन कम है. नहीं चलेगा तो पैसा तो वहाँ से ही आ जाएगा. तो टेंशन मत लो. So try whatever you want to try, and if you have some good ideas, go to people like Aviral. Probably they'll validate. Don't. Now, something that I learned from 4baseCare is don't just jump into it before validating things. Before 4baseCare, before even raising our seed round, we talked to a lot of oncologists to understand, did a market research, which now we realize something which every product manager does, right? To understand the market, to understand the gaps, and then to try and create solutions. But if you think the solution is super simple, don't worry, that probably is the best solution. So we've realized that simplicity is the best to implement and explain things. So validate karo and then jump into it. And because again, like I said, because you have a strong support ecosystem, tab to tension hi nahi hai.
Awesome. Thank you so much, KDR. This was a pleasure, interacting. Guys, a big round of applause.
Thank you.